When you start getting into the industrial size generator, it's a whole nother ball game, because what happens in this business is a lot of times you over design the solution, which means you're not going to get the job because they're spending way too much money on something, and you're establishing a long-term relationship with this customer on the commercial side, and you'll start to see that the commercial side of your business will continue to grow and grow and grow. Welcome to the Standby Generator Podcast, brought to you by Power Alliance. I'm your host, Jim Swetman. Together, we will dive into the world of the standby power business, offering expert insights, industry trends, and actionable strategies to help you grow and scale your generator business. Whether you're looking to optimize your operations, increase profitability, or stay ahead of the curve, this podcast is your go-to resource. So grab a seat and let's power up your business for success. Welcome to this week's Standby Generator Podcast. I'm your host, Jim Swetman. And this week we're going to talk about commercial generators, on whether you, as a primarily residential contractor doing standby generators, should get into the commercial side of things. And I've got some questions from dealers across the country whether they should be investing in moving into the commercial market. So here is my experience of being a standby power dealer for 20 years, about my experience in the commercial market, again, being primarily a residential dealer. So let's get going here on what my thoughts are for you as a business owner or operations manager, or what you might be in your standby power dealer. So commercial generators, here is my advice to you. Again, take it with a grain of salt. Commercial generators are definitely a natural progression to get into the market from the residential side of things. I personally would stay away from getting into the industrial side. If you're an electrical contractor or small electrical contractor, there's much more opportunity in the commercial side. When you start getting into the industrial size generator, it's a whole nother ball game. There's obviously already industrial dealers in your area that have already made the commitment, the capital commitment, the relationships that they already have, the large companies, the hospitals that they deal with. That's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about more of the commercial side. And really, I think the commercial side that I looked at things were manageable for doing commercial generators was really anything under 150 kW generator and less. That's pretty much where the sweet spot was that I found, which offered the lowest risk. There's still risk when you start getting into commercial stuff, but that was the biggest sweet spot. So anything 150 kW or less, obviously the diesel generators in that size. But really, the commercial side is really, the way I looked at it, is really from a 48 kW up to 150 kW. When you start getting up into anything larger, you're into a whole nother ball game. But I'm sure in your town, in your county, there's a whole lot of commercial people that are looking to have that size generator put in, whether it's assisted living, whether it's backing up a small IT center, something like that. Fire departments, ambulances, places like that are looking, pump stations and things like that are looking, county stuff like that are looking to have that put in. So that's what I would concentrate on as far as focus. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about focus and how I went about being successful in not only the residential side, but very successful in the commercial business under 150 kW. The way that I looked at doing these generators is a construction management mentality, which means I wanted to be the turnkey guy, just like I am with the residential side. I wanted to be more of this on the commercial side. So commercial management mentality is you're the single source. Now, that doesn't mean you execute everything yourself. Not at all. Because these larger generators, really on the electrical side, you probably either already have a relationship with an electrical contractor, or if you're a larger electrical contractor, yes, you're going to execute the electrical work yourself. But sometimes it makes a whole lot of sense just to subcontract that out with what I consider business partners. So when you start getting into the commercial side of the generators, you really want to have one or two of your go-to subcontractors on the electrical side of things, the mechanical side, which is the gas piping side of things, and the excavation side of thing, or the dirt guys, and your crane people, the people that are going to be, you're going to ship these generators to the crane company locally, and they're going to ship that and set that generator in place. So if you start to build a relationship with those 3 or 4 subcontractors, you're really going to be successful doing these standby generators. So if you're wondering how am I going to do this stuff, well, those are really, it's the same steps as putting in a residential generator, just in a larger scale. You've got your transfer switch, you got your generator, you got your fuel supply, you got your site work, you've got your commissioning and starting that has to happen, in your customer sign-off. It's the same thing that you do in the residential, but just on a larger scale. So I took the construction management mentality. So what I did when I went into a business and provided a turnkey installation service, what I did to protect the risk that I had is I would take a look at the project first, and then I would call in my subcontractors to look at the project and give me pricing about to do the electrical, the mechanical, the rigging, and the site work that has to happen. I would have them provide me pricing on all of that stuff, and then put those numbers together, put a margin on it. I would like to do all of the commissioning and starting myself, and you have to make sure that you're certified in doing that. And then we would go ahead and execute that project. Now, the biggest part of doing commercial generators and turnkeying this yourself is being able to design the right solution for this customer. You want to make sure that you engineer and design the generator properly. And believe me, I learned my lesson, because what happens in this business is a lot of times you over-design the solution, which means you're not going to get the job because they're spending way too much money on something. And obviously, the other thing you can do is under-design the solution. And I've been on both sides of that table, and it's not fun. And the way to limit your risk on that is get together and team up with a small engineering firm in your town. Have them come out and take a look and verify what your design is. Get a relationship going with them. Here in upstate New York, we didn't need to have stamped drawings at all to do these projects, just an electrical inspection and a building permit, of course. But we didn't have to provide any kind of stamped drawings, because this is optional standby systems that we're talking about. Remember Article 700, 701, and 702. So we weren't in the 702 category. So we didn't have to have stamped drawings at all. Just electrical inspection was good enough for the building permits that we had to pull on these things. But really, when you start putting these things together and designing the solution, and you're sticking below that 150 output, you can really start getting a good comfort of what the capabilities are of this generator. And again, it doesn't matter the manufacturer, whether it's Generac or Kohler or Cummins or Onan. You start to get a really good feeling of what these generators can handle out there. And I was always a believer that on the commercial side, you stuck with one manufacturer. And that comfort zone actually comes from the support that you get from that manufacturer in assisting and supporting you in the design of that unit before you give the pricing to the customer. Or when you're doing the design, you need to get to the electrical contractor and say, look, we need parallel 500 MCM cable going to this 800 amp switch, and then we need to tie into the gear. It's your responsibility to give the design to the electrical contractor and let them work up the pricing for you. This episode of the Standby Generator Podcast is proudly presented by Power Alliance, the only mastermind community built specifically for standby generator dealers. At Power Alliance, we believe growth happens faster when you're connected. That's why we bring together like-minded dealers across the country to share real-world insights, solve challenges, and accelerate business success together. From streamlining operations to scaling your service division, Power Alliance gives you the tools, support, and community to take your business to the next level. Learn more and join the movement at www.poweralliance.com. Also, another good thing that I learned is that the electrical contractors are really more up to code than you may be just being a standby generator provider. So listen to the electrical contractor for any kind of code changes or things that are going on in the electrical industry, and they're always changing. Like right now, the copper prices are just absolutely ridiculous because of the tariffs that are going on. So you may be forced to go to aluminum conductors and things like that. But you want to make sure that you're designing the solution most cost effectively, that the generator is going to be able to support the loads that are there, of course, and then talk to the customer about if there's any kind of expansions that they may be planning for that facilities to make sure that the generator can be able to support that. Another thing that I did in the commercial side is I never got involved in competitive bidding when it came to commercial generator installations. The commercial competitive bidding process is an absolute disaster. If you want to lose money, if you want to pull your hair out, you go out and get in the competitive bid market out there. And I can tell you right now, there's extremely small chance that you're going to make money on any competitive bidding. And most of the time, this is from my experience and I've lived it, most of the time when you're a low bidder, you've made a mistake. And you do not want to start out a project like that knowing that you're under the gun and you've got to hammer on people and you've got to scramble in order to do a $100,000 and $150,000 job. It's not worth it. That's where you want to stay into the private market and you want to get out there and provide a turnkey service for the customer as far as things goes. So let's talk about capital requirements to get into the commercial side of things. The commercial world is obviously different than the residential. Residential world, things happen really fast. You go out, you send your guy out to go do a quote. The customer says, yep, let's go ahead. You go ahead and pull the building permit. You schedule the execution. You've got the generator and stuff in stock. You go ahead and execute the job, and that day they're writing you a check. Done, simple, over with. Really minimal risk that has to happen. Things get spread out a little bit on the commercial side. Obviously, you want to try and get a progress payment as you do with the residential side. You want to try and get a progress payment if the customer does want to move forward with a commercial job. Let's just round it off. It's a $100,000 job. It's an 80 kW that's got to go in. You want to try and get a 20% progress payment, 25% progress payment. And what I used to tell customers is that, hey, when I order that generator and transfer switch from the manufacturer, they bill me for it to hold the space in line for production. Now, you know that that's not true, but it was always a way to make sure that I got the commitment from the customer that they wanted to move forward with the project, because I didn't want to go buy the generator, execute halfway through, and when I call them up and tell them that their 100 kW generator, 80 kW generator is ready to go, that they changed their mind and they're going out of business. So at least you've got some money in your pocket, because the idea is always to be, of course, cash positive in any projects that you do. So we always just build twice on this. We had the progress payment, 20-25% progress payment on the commercial jobs, and then we immediately billed them when it was final commissioned and started to get things going. Now, bill them is a little different world. Sometimes they may be on 30, 60, 90-day payment for you, so you're stretching things out. If you've got subcontractors involved for the electrical, mechanical site, and rigging, they're going to want their payment pretty quick as well. So you want to make sure that you get a clear understanding from that commercial customer about what your payment terms are. And of course, it wants to be immediate upon completion. Within, of course, 14 days is always good. But 30 days max, you want to get into a 60-day payment. So you want to manage that right up front as far as when you get paid for that. There's also additional capital involved in your technicians. You've got to have certified techs that are certified in the commercial side of things. So you want to have at least one tech. You want to have two of them is really the best way to go, because one tech could be looking to leave, or now that he's certified in commissioning and starting of that commercial generator, a competitor's going to grab him. So you want to have at least two technicians that are certified. We called it at the company I work for as a level 3 technician, and he was able to commission and start and maintain commercial diesel generators. So that is a capital commitment, time frame commitment that you have to make to get into that. Also, part of what you want to be offering in the commercial side of things is the portable diesel gensets. One of the things, the requirement that I had to reach, or requirement of doing a private project, is this was a not-for-profit that had 6 or 7 locations, and they were all commercial generators. The operations manager for that company said, hey, you know what? This sounds great, Jim. We want to move forward with you. But how many portable diesel gensets do you have? What is your plan, Jim, when my East Avenue location goes down? And if you tell me that you're just going to go rent a generator, I think I'm going to go back to somebody else that I was thinking of. So you may have to make a capital investment of a portable diesel genset or something like that to show depth and commitment in what you're doing. Now, the mobile gensets are also a good idea, because you can advertise those, that you have that, show that you're in the market by having 1 or 2 of those, and you can even buy used ones and have them on site, or you can go ahead and make the investment and buy 1 or 2, 60, 80, or 45 kW mobile diesel genset to have that ready as well. It's a good write-off as well. You buy them, and within 3 to 5 years, they're written off. And as you know, if you don't use them a lot, these things will last you 20 years. It all depends. So we had really, really good luck with having a couple of diesel gensets. One was 100 kW and one was a 60 kW. And what's great about those is you're showing commitment to the customer, that you are able to support them during an emergency situation. You can bring out your genset. Also, we had them set sometimes on customer sites where they were never running and we were getting monthly fees for them being temporarily set up while their existing diesel generator that is no longer working, we had that sitting there and we got paid for that generator to do nothing. So these are kind of the long-term strategies that you want to think about of getting into the standby commercial generator market. So there is a risk involved in designing and engineering the solution. It is a natural progression for you as a residential dealer, especially if you're established and you're getting calls from potential customers. Hey, do you do commercial work? And then if you really are focused on it, maybe you have one of your sales team persons, maybe graduate them to making calls on the commercial side of things, calling fire departments, calling assisted living, calling places, sending out emails, getting involved in organizations and electrical association in your area where you're dealing more with the project managers of larger businesses as well. So those are some different ways to get into the commercial side of things. Also, lastly, what we used to do when there was an opportunity to do a commercial generator, and it could be, and as you know, you've probably already experienced this, is sometimes when you put in a residential generator, you're putting it in for a business owner who already owns a small business, and he's looking for a standby generator for his commercial business. And it's a great, roll right in and say, yes, we definitely do commercial work. I'd love to come out and take a look and see, what your needs are. So you start out small and getting involved with that. And again, staying away from the competitive bidding market. So you're a single source supplier of standby generators in the commercial market. Another thing that we used to do quite often is when there was an opportunity, when somebody was thinking about doing, what we would do at no cost, we would come out and do a forensic investigation of their existing generator or generators. Again, not-for-profits, counties, things like that. They probably have multiple generators, and we would come out at no cost and give them a report of the current status of their generator. What does that do? It sets you aside as an expert in the industry, that you're an expert, that you can evaluate that generator, take a look at it, get the records from the company and see last time it was maintained, get the age of the generator, how many hours. From the records, has there been any kind of consistent issues with that generator and they're looking to replace it? And then you give them the report and say, you know what, this generator is on its last legs. Let us go ahead and work up a proposal for you to replace that generator based on what your new requirements are, because the requirements probably changed that thing was put in 20 years ago. And that gives you a chance to go over that and do a free forensic investigation of that generator or generators. Now, if you do get into a situation where you have a potential customer that has multiple generators, 4, 5, 6, 10, 20, 30 generators, hopefully you'll have the opportunity to put that together. You want to be able to put together a replacement plan for that company or that not-for-profit that has these generators out there, so that if the generator, even the commercial generators, get into 20 years old, they've reached their life expectancy, especially mostly because it comes to parts, and they probably haven't been maintained properly. They're probably all gunked up. The diesel's all gunked up and the fuel systems and things like that. Well, you want to put together a replacement plan for that customer so that if there is a generator that does go bad, the customer doesn't have to pull it out of their emergency budget to replace that generator. So again, that shows that you're a leader in the industry and you can use different color codes for those generators. Red is, hey, this generator is not working right now. We need to get our mobile diesel genset out there, hook it up temporarily so if you do lose power, the customers that facility is taking care of can go ahead and have power. Yellow is, hey, you know what, this is a 5-year plan. This generator is good for another 5 years and it needs to be replaced. And green is, hey, you know what, this generator was put in just a few years ago with constant maintenance. You should get 20, 25 years out of that. So to get it into their budget for this customer for due generator replacements, and they're going to love you for that. And again, you're establishing a long-term relationship with this customer on the commercial side, and you'll start to see that the commercial side of your business will continue to grow and grow and grow. So those are just some different insights about getting into the commercial business, being very strategic how you do it, how it's designed, how it's engineered, the risks, the capital improvements, getting with some subcontractors that I call almost your business partners, even though they're not, and establishing a great relationship with them, which they can also assist and support you, because that electrical contractor, that mechanical contractor may have gotten some calls on putting in a standby generator, and now it just turns into this big, sharing of leads that are going around with that. So just a few things on getting into the commercial generators. Again, thank you very much for listening to the Standby Generator Podcast, brought to you by Power Alliance. And again, my name is Jim Swetman. Thanks a lot. Thank you for tuning in to the Standby Generator Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share. For more resources, tips, and to connect with other like-minded professionals, visit us at poweralliance.com or visit our social media pages. Until next time, keep powering up your business.